Welcome in, brand new Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Memorial. I'm Rick Gaiman, that right there, Joe Idoni. Joe, hello to you and happy IPO.
Happy Jock Market Power Hour to you and all the people joining us. We are right in the heart, really, of golf season, between two majors, directly between the two middle ones. We've got the Memorial Elevated event, 120-man field, one of my favorite of the year in terms of a course setup and how difficult that it plays annually. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how things shake up in the markets tonight.
Yeah, I've already got a couple of bids in for this IPO, which is the phase of the market we're in now. We'll take you through that and how it kind of works and everything in between, because this is different than most of the content that we put out during the week. It's not an outright market. It's not a DFS game. It is stock market DFS, essentially. And we'll take you through that. But we've got a lot of opportunity for you to make money to do basically nothing, Joe. So two ways. One, the standard, we've got the best promo code you can get. It's power. There's a link in the description. You can take advantage of that, get your $100 deposit bonus. But if you saw, all you have to do is quote tweet a Jock Market tweet and get yourself entered into a draw for $150. The question is, who will do better? John Rahm, Patrick Cantlay. If you go to the Jock Market Twitter page, you quote tweet this with who you think is going to do better. You don't even have to be right. You're entered in that draw. So, Joe, what side you want here, Rombo or Cantlay?
I'm on Rahm.
No, that's wrong.
That's wrong. Why you got Cantlay? Explain.
I mean, it's John Rahm. He's one of the best players in the world. Like, obviously that's possible, but I don't know, man. I've fallen in love with the whole Cantlay thing and how well he's played despite not having to win. And now he's going to Muirfield Village and all that fun stuff. So I like the Cantlay side of things, but I'm a sucker.
I'm a sucker for the Rahm redemption still that I feel like he's owed at Memorial, when I feel like he had potentially one of the all-time great weeks in strokes gained history brewing through 3 rounds. Yeah. I talked about on my show this earlier this week, but I got the stats because you actually have the strokes gained data from John Rahm's round. Over 21 strokes gained. He was gaining a stroke on the field every 2.4 holes that he played. A full stroke on the field before every 3 holes that he played. He was on an absolutely tremendous run. He's on a great run right now. But yeah, I mean, him and Cantlay seem to be like splitting hairs this week.
Yeah, so I do have just, the 3 rounds that he played before the WD in 2021. He had gained 21 strokes to the field in 3 rounds. That's insanity. It's absolutely insane. Like it's you start looking at a historical context and you realize, oh my God, strokes gained is a counting stat, and he's only played 3 rounds and he's done what others have done in 4, and the best 4 rounds that guys put together. So yes, John Rahm is probably owed a handshake from Jack Nicklaus here by the 18th green. So whether you're right or wrong, just quote tweet this. Make sure you're following the Jock Market handle. You'll be able to be entered in that draw for $150. So you can basically get yourself $250 tonight for doing very, very little actual work or analysis.
Yeah, and like we said, you don't have to be right. So you're in the drawing either way.
Yeah, so we are playing stock market DFS. We got about 40 minutes to go in this IPO. Then we will enter the live trading portion of this. And for the next 40 minutes, you're going to be able to bid on golfers and assign them a share price. If you are one of the high bidders by 9 p.m. Eastern time tonight, those shares are allocated to you. Let me give you a quick example, because we'll look back at last week real quick here, Joe. Charles Schwab Challenge, Emiliano Grillo sold for $5.20 per share and paid out the full $25 per share. So you got $19.80 of profit per share on Emiliano Grillo. If you had Adam Schenk, who lost in a playoff to Emiliano Grillo, he went for $3.33 a share last week, $20 a share for the payout, $16 of profit a share. So there were 4 different golfers in the market last week that got you a 380% ROI or better.
Insanity. And this is music to my ears, what you just said about how cool Jock Market is. Grillo, Schenk, Harry Hall, Paul Haley, 669% ROI last week. Yet, like, the beauty of it is Scotty Scheffler, who played great, who burned everybody's, short plus 450 outright ticket, still returned you a substantial profit as he's been printing money in the jock market consistently. So there's just so many different ways to play this when you can go all the way up to nearly a record price on Scotty Scheffler that we have ever seen. Or you can go sub $2 and go dumpster diving on a guy like Paul Haley and make almost 700% ROI when he finishes at the $15 per share payout.
Here's Scotty's 2023, and he has essentially broken every record. He's always been one of the highest priced golfers, and he has returned you a profit basically every single week. He has lost a little bit. Genesis, he lost you 10 cents a share. I think we can survive that. Yeah. RBC Heritage, he lost you 7 cents a share. I think we can survive that. And the worst loss that Scotty Scheffler has had in 2023, he lost you $1.45 per share at the Masters. Otherwise, he's been nothing but a printing machine.
Yeah, his worst payout of the year is $9 per share.
Stupid.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that was obviously, and that was a profitable week because he went for 856.
Yeah, exactly.
It's absolutely insane what he is capable of doing.
So
that's how we're doing it here. You know, the IPO is open. I tweeted this out a little bit. I've already got my bids in, Joe. One of the things that so we talk a lot about the players in real time. Let's take a second, talk strategy for a second. Obviously, we're doing this show, so it is going to be impossible for me to like actively engage in this market at 8:59 p.m. Eastern time, right? It's going to be difficult for me to do that, but I don't have to, right? I can put my bids in now, my max bids in now, and let the system bid up to my max. And you can see that the bidding's going nuts on the right-hand side here. So not only is this good for me, who's not going to be around or available at 9 p.m. Eastern time, but also for people who don't trust themselves, right? For people who like, okay, I know I have a limit. I know I have a price on a guy, but if I get into the heat of the battle and I see that Joe at TourPicks is like outbidding me on this and I can't restrain myself, getting my bids in early with my max and forgetting about it might be a decent strategy.
Yeah, when the punches start flying, sometimes you make bad moves in the final 2 minutes. But yeah, there is absolutely multiple ways to play this. Like you mentioned, I think the way that you're taking it on is has a little bit, honestly, more of a sound strategy to it, because what you're doing is developing a price point based on their finishing position that you feel comfortable paying, putting in those bids early. And you know what? If it clears the number, all that money goes back into your account. And the beauty of it is, if you lose all three of these guys tonight in IPO, it's not like the week is over for you. You get all that money back that you can reinvest into the market in terms of live trading. So Austin Eckroat comes out and starts 2 over through 3 holes. That's nothing at the Memorial. He's playing so great. You can get back in potentially at an even cheaper price or invest elsewhere. There's shorting available. So all those dollars coming back into your account are dollars that you can continue to use and facilitate toward different players throughout 72 holes all the way until Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, well, as I've revealed the golfers that I have bids in, the chat is showing me how quickly they are going to be removed from my orders here. So I might have to check back in a couple of minutes and see if I can sneak a few more in there before things get hot and heavy as this IPO winds down in about 35 minutes or so. So that's one side of the game, Joe. If that wasn't enough, the prop pick'ems are available. Strokes and birdies are better, and fairways and greens and regulation, which is kind of the opposite sides of things. So Jock Market has this working from both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just actually looking at the round one strokes. Scotty Scheffler, for instance, is 69.5 in terms of round one total stroke. Victor Hovland, maybe the second hottest player in the field, is at 70.5 strokes. You have birdies or better options as well for the first round. There's a lot of players available this week, which is nice to see. A solid offering, at least 10 guys there in each one. So that's another way to sort of play this. You can mix and match with other sports as the NBA finals continue, the NHL finals continue. Major League Baseball is going on daily. So tons of different options and ways to play within one singular app.
All right. Well, let's play our own game, which we call Bullish or Bearish, where we identify 4 different golfers and we take a stance on them. What we also wanted to do is go a little bit further down the board tonight, Joe. You know, we talk a lot about those guys at the top. We're going to talk about them anyway. So we found ourselves a couple of names, maybe just a little bit further down the board. Let's just start with Denny McCarthy. I've already like shown everybody in the world on Twitter and here that I want to be invested in Denny McCarthy tonight. He's already at $4.75. His suggested price, his fair value, is $5.36, which is asking him to finish about 30th or better. I don't know if I even have to ask this because you're that dude. Are you bullish or bearish on Denny McCarthy?
Yeah, bullish. I'm always bullish. He's playing well right now, and I think that I like him for a lot of the reasons that you like him. The ball striking numbers on the whole are really coming around, and when you kind of look at some of the putting numbers and the short game stuff, which has still been fantastic, believe it or not, it's actually below his long-term baseline slightly, so that he has room for improvement in that area, which he's best suited at. He's continued to show up to hard golf courses. I think this. I don't know, man. Maybe I've just been like slowly planting seeds every Wednesday in your brain that like all of a sudden the stats line up. And you're like, oh, maybe Denny can get it done. And I've been wrong for long enough on Denny, but he is starting to actually really trend in the right direction and become a very solid option in a place like a top 20 market, in a head-to-head matchup market, or more importantly, a place like Jock Market. Oh, you're muted, buddy.
I knew I was going to do that. Maybe you've just been wearing me down. Maybe that's
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah. And but I look at this, right? And he's been a winner in 5 of his last 6 markets. You mentioned it. He's still putting well and is getting better in the ball striking categories. He had a good finish here last year, and he's having a great run at these elevated events. I think it's it's so different this year with the schedule. There's kind of the has and the have-nots or whatever, right? And when the best players in the world get together, Denny's been great. He's like the 10th best player in strokes gained at these elevated events and major championships. So yeah, I think it's warranted. And Denny here to kind of get us out of the gate. Yeah, give me a bullish stance on Denny.
Love it.
Adam Scott is next. This was your submission, and I admittedly not sure I have a hot take or a big stance on Adam Scott. So where do we stand, bullish or bearish on the Aussie?
So I'm bearish, and I'll give you a couple reasons. Number one, in other popular DFS formats, looking at some of the ownership projections, he's a very popular pick this week. And a lot of times popularity and public sentiment leads to an inflated price and kind of correlates with the jock market, as we've seen. So that's number one. Number two, his approach play has not been great, and particularly from the distances that are longer coming into the pin, 175 yards and up, where we see an increased number of shots come this week. When you actually filter that out by difficult scoring conditions, he's even worse. And the third thing for me is these greens at Memorial, when they want them to, I believe are maybe the fastest on the PGA Tour in terms of a regular non-major stop. There's newly contoured slopes. They're extremely firm because they're new in a sense. So they are bouncy and they are lightning quick. Last year, I believe earlier in the week, there was some rain, which slowed them down a little bit. But by the time we see this thing get to Saturday, Sunday, the last 2 years, they have been burnt out and so quick to putt on, and his historic putting numbers go down on lightning fast greens as well. So those 3 stats, along with his increased popularity, I think is going to lead me to be bearish on what his price ends up being.
Yeah, the popularity is certainly a concern. And you mentioned it. The sentiment is so important here in Jock Market. And we kind of get a glimpse into it on a Wednesday night when in most other formats, we have to wait till Thursday morning to get an idea of what that actual sentiment is going to be. But I tend to agree with you. He's gained like 11 strokes putting over the course of his last 3 starts. Like, is that something that is going to be repeatable? Probably not. You look at some of the names around him, and I think his fair value tonight is... it's like 6 something, which is 25th or better. There's just a lot of ways that this goes sideways for Adam Scott. So I don't feel super strongly in either direction, but I certainly would lean on the bear side of things for Mr. Scott tonight.
Okay.
Jordan Spieth is next. And Jordan Spieth, there's always a lot of noise when it comes to Jordan Spieth, whether it is him talking, whether it's everybody talking about him, whether it's this new wrist injury. His fair value for today is $6.14, which is essentially 27th or better. Bullish or bearish on Jordan Spieth?
I'm bullish on Spieth. I bet him this week. I love the fact that contrary to someone like Adam Scott, some of his ownership and popularity looks to be a little bit tempered this week. I don't know if it's mostly because of injury concerns, because to be honest, even though if you rule out the miscut last week, there wasn't really a drop off in form at the PGA Championship. He still gained 8.4 strokes ball striking with that injured wrist. He was fantastic off the tee, had one of his best off the tee weeks of the year. Before that, he's gained in 7 of his last 10 at an average IPO price over $7. So you're going to tell me his fair value price is in the low sixes tonight, and below someone like Adam Scott, I'm much more bullish on Spieth, and I'm okay being there anywhere up to like 750, to be honest.
Yeah, I am too. And I think on paper, this is not a great spot for him, right? You're like, man, I don't know. He kind of like sprays it a little bit off the tee, but not on paper. On the actual golf course, he's been great. 4 straight top 18 finishes here at this event. You go back even further, 5 of his last 6. He had the T3 in 2015, another top 20 in 2014. So whatever the math problem is for Spieth, he tends to figure it out here. And I have almost just like poo-pooed this entire injury thing, because outside of that one statement he released, there has been zero evidence that he is hurt at all. So I'm removing that from my brain, and I am taking a bullish stance on Jordan Spieth. Finally tonight is Cam Young. And again, on paper, you're like, oh man, this might be a pretty good spot for somebody like Cam Young. His fair value tonight is 730. That's asking him to finish 20th or better. So a top 20 from Cam Young, who is coming in off of, let's see, a miscut at the PGA Championship. Are you going to take a bullish or bearish stance on Cam Young tonight?
You know what? I'm going to be bearish. I think I've been bearish for the majority of the year. I think there's going to be a tipping point probably here very soon where he tends to fluctuate up and down an odds board, up and down popularity, up and down pricing in the jock market, where we start to see some value injected back into a Cam Young stock price. But right now, I just want to see some positive signs of form. So I'm going to be bearish overall. What are you seeing from like a statistical side that is the reasoning for some of the struggles we've been seeing?
Yeah, I'm kind of worried about this, so I take a bear side too. So Cam Young has like 2 superpowers. One is that he freaking bombs it, and he is just absolutely one of the longest hitters on the PGA Tour. The other superpower is that with his first superpower, he's got a lot of touch, which usually doesn't. Those 2 things don't go together. Guys that mash it are usually bad on and around the greens because they've got 1 speed. That is not Cam Young. However, that second superpower, we're not seeing it right now. He's hemorrhaging strokes on the green. He's losing them around the greens. It's similar to the slump that he was in to start 2023. So it's something that we've seen before, which is always a little bit concerning, that he's going to have these kind of patterns of getting into these situations where he struggles in certain aspects of the game. So this is a little bit too worrisome for me. So I will not be an investor in Cam Young tonight. I'll be a bear on this thing.
Me as well.
All right. This market will be open. This market will be open until Sunday night, but the IPO, the bidding phase, will be available for about 25 more minutes. If you want to get involved, the code you're looking for is POWER. There's a link in the description. You can get your $100 deposit bonus. If you simply quote tweet this Jock Market tweet that is in their timeline right now with who you think is going to be better, Jon Rahm or Patrick Cantlay, you are entered into another draw for $150. You can get out of here with $250 tonight for doing very little, if any, work. This market is getting mature very, very quickly, Joe, because we've got 3 golfers already over $10 per share in the market. Yeah. Scotty Scheffler, $11. Jon Rahm, $10.49. Patrick Cantlay, $10.10. They are indeed the 1, 2, and 3rd ranked golfers in this IPO. Boy, we are in for it right now.
Yeah, this is 25 minutes to go and 3 guys over 10. This may be a new mark for us. Scotty and Rahm have just sort of separated themselves, in my opinion, and they're playing at such an elite level. And this is not a knock on Patrick Cantlay whatsoever, but those 2 guys are sort of in their own tier right now in my eyes. And I feel like any other stop on tour, they're clear like you had the choice, like the tweet you just showed. You can take John Rahm or Patrick Cantlay. Any other stop on the PGA Tour, you probably take John Rahm. This is the one place you consider Cantlay because of the course history, because how he sets up, because how he's played so consistently here, and it aligns also with the form. It will be very interesting to see how these three shake up over the next 25 minutes. Do you envision it sort of staying in this pecking order of Scotty, Rahm, Cantlay, or do you see any shake up there?
I think it should be. I think if we were to remove everything in a vacuum, it should be Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, Patrick Cantlay. I do think, though, that and what we've seen in these markets is the guy who gets like the steam for the week, Patrick Cantlay, who's like 10-1 this week, and you know, the third shortest odds, and he kind of takes over for Rory McIlroy as that third best golfer in this field by public sentiment or by Vegas odds. They seem to be a little overvalued in this market. So I think there's a chance that Cantlay, I don't know though, man. It would be tough for him to pass Rahm. I just think he's gonna be in the mix all night long. But
yeah, there are going to be people that want a piece.
Yeah, but I think it should end like this. Whether it's, I don't know what the prices are going to be, but it should end Scotty, Rahm, Cantlay, in my opinion.
Yeah, agree.
The rest of this board. So then it's Xander at 933 and Rory McIlroy at 823. Let's just talk about Rory. You know, he is now exiting seemingly early, 23 minutes to go, but he is going to exit that big three tonight, it looks like. And that is, it's coming off a top 10 at a major championship. So I actually think that we're in a situation where the expectations for Rory are so high that he can be dethroned from the top three players in a field because he finished T7 and gained strokes in every category at a major championship. That is insane to me.
It is insane. And he gained 9.6 strokes ball striking at the PGA Championship amidst having essentially nothing off the tee for Rory, which is also insane. Yeah, we're going to get a good price on Rory tonight. Do you have the balls to take him? We're going to find out because you're going to get a lucrative price. He's going to be priced, I believe, probably fifth. I think Xander's going to go higher than him tonight. So he's going to be fifth on the board, which is as low as we've seen him in any event. He's coming off a great week. Honestly, Rick, this all comes down to listening to Rory's press conferences and what's going on outside the golf course, what's going on inside of his head. Because if he had sat there after the PGA Championship and said, you know what, I just finished seventh, that's a very positive sign for me when I didn't have my best stuff. I'm going to go back to work and I'm going to get better, but I'm seeing things headed in a positive direction here. If he had said that, which the stats would indicate is very true, I think everyone would be ready to pounce on this guy this week. And we're kind of messing with a sleeping giant right now.
Back-to-back T18s here in the last 2 years, bunch of top 10, top 20 finishes dating back to 2010. So it's not like Rory is a stranger to this place or a guy who hasn't been able to figure it out. Looking back at the big board, creeping up on the heels of Rory McIlroy is one Victor Hovland, 782. He leads the golfers in the 7K range, Joe, which is Victor, Terrell Hatton, Justin Thomas, Colin Morikawa. Is there a lean or leans in that range that you'd like to see tonight?
Who were the three you mentioned?
So it's Victor, Hatton, Thomas, Justin Thomas, and Colin Morikawa in that $7 range right now.
I think it's still Victor for me. He's playing so great. I worried a little bit last week of a hangover from the PGA Championship. You know, he played Wells Fargo. He played the PGA. He's been playing a lot of golf. He's been playing really good golf. Yeah, I would say Victor personally and better in terms of like looking at him playing, looking at his stats and knowing the guy. Like, do you feel like this is someone who could potentially be burnt out right now and with all the travel and all the contention and all the rounds played, at an elite level, or is he just built for this to go week in, week out?
So, I mean, listen, he's a very hard worker. He usually spends every night at the range until it gets dark. And being from Norway, the dude travels, right? Like him getting on a flight from Texas to Dublin is like nothing, right? Yeah. Like that's nothing. This dude does like literal, cross world travel on a regular basis. So I think there's a couple of good signs, the fact that he lost strokes on approach last week in a week where I think a lot of people correctly figured out that it might've been a little bit of a hangover and still finished T16 is good. right? I mean, he is showing a growth both in major championships and outside of major championships, that his game is no longer one dimensional, or he no longer has like a gaping hole in his game. So I think there's going to be a difficult way, especially the harder the golf course, the better, right? We're seeing the maturity in major championships. You get a course that is a non-major, but it's going to play like one. It's going to be good for Victor.
Yeah, absolutely. And another guy that you mentioned there, let's talk about him, Colin Morikawa. If you
Yeah.
could bring up sort of his recent numbers in the tournaments that he's played in. Interesting, though, like what you just showed with Victor, right? You just talked about the ability to lose almost 2 strokes in terms of on approach and still finish 16th. There were 2 other tournaments in there where he lost strokes on approach and was finishing like 30th. Colin is crushing it on approach within his wheelhouse. He seems to be hitting his irons great and getting back to that form, but it's not translating into the finishes. No top 10 since the Masters, 2 missed cuts, a 26th place, a 29th place when he gains 4.5 strokes on approach and 5 strokes ball striking. He's just not turning these positive signs in terms of the irons into results.
Yeah, it's a really astute observation, because there's a lot of different ways to get it done, and this to me is concerning. Like what does the guy have to do, right? I mean, he gains 9 strokes on approach at the Players and doesn't even get into the top 10. Like, that isn't that a concern? You know, I talk a lot about like how wide a golfer's path to the top of the board is, and I think we all agree Scotty Scheffler's path is incredibly wide, right? Like when you are losing 4 strokes putting and you are 1 shot out of a playoff and you're doing ungodly things from tee to green, you have this incredibly wide path and you have margin for error. It feels like Colin Morikawa does not have that room for margin of error. He does not have that wide path. He almost needs, this is an exaggeration, but he almost needs the stars to align to get him to the top of the board. And we're going on 2 years without a victory, right? And it's just like, dude, like how is this possible? It's just not adding up, and he's just playing himself out of it on and around the greens. It's a good observation, Joe. I think it's concerning.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, if you have to gain 9 strokes and don't break in the top 10, that's horrible stuff. Further down the board, the $6 range. Here are a couple of fan favorites for you: Ricky Fowler, Sung Jae Im, Jordan Spieth, Hideki's here, Fitzpatrick and Corey Connors. You have any hot takes for these guys?
I like Hideki and Matt Fitzpatrick, actually.
Okay.
I mean, major championship winners, right? These guys are elite, like when maybe not so much Hideki anymore, but Fitzpatrick is a top 10 in the world type player, I imagine. They both have all the skill sets in the world. Hideki had the unfortunate whiteout situation on the 3-wood last year that kind of blew all our minds.
The dumbest DQ I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah, it was bad, but he can't do that. He's got to know that, I feel like. I don't know.
Somebody does. His caddy, the guy rolls 5 deep at every event. No one said, "Hey, buddy, you can't put white out on your club."
Do that.
Sorry, I just, you're gonna trigger.
No,
me.
yeah, it was silly. I like both of those guys in comparison to Sung Jae, who's missed back-to-back cuts, who I just don't feel as positive surrounding him. Although we're going to get a better price on Sung Jae than we would have gotten a month ago heading into this event. But those 2 guys upside, I feel like, is win versus Sung Jae is like maybe a little higher of a floor, but I feel like a T14 is probably more in the works. I see things going right for either Hideki or Matt Fitzpatrick, and I think they can actually win this tournament.
Yeah, you can see the bids coming in real time. There was a bid on Corey Connors coming in. There's, Danny McCarthy trying to get, I think my Danny McCarthy my Danny McCarthy bid is still live right now. My Austin Eckroat bid has been usurped, so I might have to put another one of those in. But you can see
why Justin Suh.
I just think that, you talk about guys who are like figuring it out, and he's been piling up strokes with the putter, which he was relying on for a while, but now we're starting to see a couple of good ball striking weeks. I like to see this. Go to a major championship, finish inside the top 25, and go to a completely different golf course like Colonial and do the same thing. Like when you start doing it at a bunch of different golf courses, you're figuring it out on the PGA Tour, and that's what Justin Suh's doing right now.
Absolutely. Good points.
So I like that. Going further down the board here, you're into that $5 range, and there's a lot more names. Siwoo's here at 505, Tom Kim at 545. There's still a lot of wiggle room, Joe, on these guys who have not really sniffed their fair value yet. A name or two, or should we continue down the board?
Yeah, I got a couple. I actually like in an outright market, I would prefer Siwoo Kim here. I think he's playing great. The Byron Nelson was a fantastic second place for him. He's a guy that is just aggressive and just goes for it and kind of will let you know on Thursday whether he's going to be around or not. But when the wedges get going for Siwoo, it's world class. I think in jock market, I'm more comfortable with someone like Tom Kim, in all honesty. I know the injury has been a little bit of a concern, but the ball striking is not. He has absolutely turned it around and started playing fantastic golf. And another guy I'm considering is like Wyndham Clark. Like, I don't want to just like, I feel like once players get their win, in a sense, sometimes we forget about them. Like, if Wyndham Clark had finished third at the Wells Fargo, we would be in here like, Wyndham Clark is really trending 2 top 3s in his last 4 events, or he's really trending in the right direction. We almost don't give him enough credit for that win and continuing it off of one singular miscut at the PGA Championship. I think that this could be a good spot for his game based on the way he's playing right now. He's been one of the best ball strikers in the world over the last 10, 12 events.
Yeah, listen, you know what I'm not going to do is I'm not going to bury a guy who wins the biggest event of his life, goes to a very difficult Oak Hill in a major championship and misses the cut. Like, I'm not going to bury that guy. He's been great for 6 months. I think I can give him a pass on that one.
Same here, man.
Love it. All right, let's continue down the board and see if we can find a little bit of value. We still have plenty of time. We got about 13 minutes to go in this IPO. If you want to get involved, there's a couple ways. Use the code POWER, link in the description. It'll get you a $100 deposit bonus. If you quote tweet this tweet on Jock Market's Twitter feed right now about who's going to do better, John Rahm or Patrick Cantlay, you can get yourself in a draw for another $150. So a couple ways to get yourself some free cash. This $4 range is pretty loaded with a couple of names that we've talked about before. Obviously with Keegan Bradley and Gary Woodland and Chris Kirk. Emiliano Grillo finally breaks through, gets a win last week. He's at $4.41. He has not hit his fair value tonight. Who out of this range do you think is the one most likely to make your portfolio?
Chris Kirk, I think, is the most solid for a place like Jock Market in terms of floor. I mean, I'm still seeing Sam Burns there, which is intriguing to me, but my gut tells me he's going to get a rush of late bids. But I just feel like Kirk has just been really solid. And in this $4 range, I think of it like a T40 market. Like 40th place is what, $4.25 per share. I kind of consider it like that. I'm like, okay, who maybe is not going to win, but do I feel confident in like a 26th place finish in? And Kirk's one of those guys for me.
I just reloaded on Austin Eckroat, so come and get him, boys. I just fired away again, and my 3 bids are still live, though. Also, I'm going to lose Austin Eckroat here in just a few moments. Let's continue down the board here, Joe. That $3 tier. Let me see if I can point a couple guys out. I would take a 1 week only offer on Billy Horschel around $4. One time only. If he stinks, I never have to worry about him again, and I'm fine with that. Mark Hubbard at $3.40 per share right now has been splendid the last couple of weeks. 175% ROI to Charles Schwab and has been a winner in 4 out of 5. Those two catch my attention. Anybody for you?
Adam Svensson.
Sure.
I love the guy. You've known it for a while, but I just feel like he's just been playing really solid. And are we so certain that this guy just isn't a really good player anymore? I kind of pegged him for shorter golf courses. Then he shows up to Quail Hollow. Then he shows up to the PGA Championship. The guy, if we're looking in this $3 range, right? So I mentioned earlier that top 40 number is $4.25. That's the number for a top break even for a top 40 finish. He's done it in 4 of the last 6 events, all in which case were elevated events. So it's not like he's going in and beating up on, a Mexico Open. He's doing so in elevated events. He also has a 41st in there. 5 of his last 6 markets, he's returned you a profit. He's averaging 47% ROI. He's hot right now. He's playing good. And I just think he's continuing to develop into an all-around solid player. Now he's doing it a little less with the irons and a little bit more with the putter, which is slightly concerning to me, but I also just feel like he's becoming a more well-rounded player. And I know that when he can really get the irons clicking, he's solid. Like, he hung around for a while at the Players. He was there for a while at the PGA. He was there on Sunday at Quail. Like, he's just pretty good.
Yeah, no, I've been impressed with him recently. And the big thing you mentioned, it's these elevated events. When you show up at those, you have my attention. Let's do this. I'm on the second page. It's 120 player field, so it's not nearly as deep. What's like the lowest? Who's the last guy you'd feel comfortable with? I'll point out a couple of guys, just like Nico Echeverria has won this year. Sam Bennett obviously popped up at the Masters and got everybody all hot and bothered. I think for me, the answer is probably like SH Kim. I just like his game. I'm going to get a really good price on him because he's missed 2 out of his last 3 cuts. But I think that's probably where I draw my line.
Yeah, I would say right there. I like Matt Wallace a little bit this week in terms of players. So he's kind of where I don't really see anyone below 250 that I envision. And Sam Bennett, maybe if he stays there around $2, I might take a flyer on. Chris Gotterup could be a fun one. I don't know that I'm really quite there yet on him either. But Matt Wallace at 277 is probably my bottom mark right now.
All right, let's reset to the top of the board here and show where we stand. So 1, 2, and 3 still hanging strong. Scotty Scheffler, 1109. That's going to ask Scotty to finish about 9th or better. Then we've got, let's see here, John Rahm at 1054, Patrick Cantlay at 1016, Xander, then Rory still hanging at 850. I'll have to give this a refresh here in just a second, but we are just 8 minutes away, Joe. And this thing is top heavy. We've got a couple of new names into the mix, like Xander and Cantlay, who might be dethroning Rory McIlroy from the podium. So I think we are in for something pretty big tonight.
Yeah, I think Xander's going to get Rory, to be honest, and I think there's good reason to. While he's had good finishes, but like, is there a Sunday where you really felt like he was going to win? I would argue probably not, but he has no finish worse than 18th in his last 5 starts. He has no finish worse than 18th in his last 5 starts at the Memorial. So not only is he in pretty good trending form, he's also in pretty good trending form at this event. So the course history and the recent form kind of align for him. I do feel like this is a place where I'm more comfortable putting some dollars on Xander based on the current status of his game. It's always a place when I look back at like my betting cards from the last couple of years, I've taken Xander here. So I've always kind of thought that this would be a place where eventually he was going to nab a big victory. And it hasn't sort of come to fruition yet, but I do feel like there's a lot of people that are very high on him as well this week, seeing that he's 70 cents up from Rory.
Yeah, well, guess what? You said he hasn't really even been in contention on Sundays, and I agree with you. And he's been a winner in 4 of his last 5 cash markets. So don't have to win here. All right, Joe, go. It is 8:54. Joe is going to go get his bids in. He's probably going to try to steal. Oh, my Denny shares are hanging on by a thread. My Denny, see ya. My Denny shares are hanging tough. My Justin Suh shares are hanging tough, and my Austin Eckert shares are about to go away. But I'm going to take you the rest of the way here and see if I can survive any of those for the next 6 minutes or so. This market is heating up. If you want to get involved, the code is POWER. There's a link in the description. Get your deposit bonus. Scotty Scheffler, $11.46 per share. That is more expensive than he was at the PGA Championship and the RBC Heritage, but it is not as expensive as he was last week in a much weaker field. The Charles Schwab Challenge, $13.20 is what he was last week. John Rahm, $10.70. The former king of the jock market has, I think, been beaten out by Scotty there, but John Rahm back into double figures. And then Patrick Cantlay hanging a price on himself that we have not seen since Shriners, an event that he absolutely destroys. He was 1081 in Las Vegas. He's 1033 right now. And that's the first time he's been in double digits since that Vegas tournament. Xander Schauffele, 933, who we talked about. This is the most expensive on him since his home game. Farmers Insurance Open T13. He lost you 3% ROI that week. He was 976. So we are getting some recent highs from these guys. We might be getting a recent low on Rory McIlroy, who has not been this cheap since last year's PGA Championship. So we were talking about a year since we have seen Rory McIlroy available this cheap this late in an IPO, about 5 minutes to go, $8.50. Victor Hovland, $8.25, settling into a range where he's getting a bit more comfortable at. The trend line on Victor is clearly up and to the right, and the prices are following. Here's a sneaky little Terrell Hatton hanging right about his fair value at $7.83. He's at $7.88. That's asking him to finish just 18th or better. Well, Terrell's got 4 top 19 finishes in a row. He's got 4 wins in the jock market in a row, and his ball striking numbers are fantastic. Justin Thomas comes in with the 8th pre-rank. That's important. If you have the better pre-rank, you break ties. So 8 pre-ranks means that there's only 7 other golfers that are going to win a tie over Justin Thomas. He's been a little bit all over the place, a little bit volatile, but certainly playing decent enough golf. 8:56 p.m. Eastern time. We got about 3 or 4 minutes to go. Let's check up on I'll refresh the board. Let's check up on my bids here. My Denny McCarthy bids got 30 more cents. My Justin Suh, I got some room on Justin Suh. Don't come and get him just yet. And then I am 1 cent away from losing Austin Eckroat, and I can see the bids coming in on him on the right-hand side. So I believe Austin Eckroat is about to go away from my portfolio. Oh, I just saw Joe put in a bid on Andrew Putnam.
Don't let it slip. Don't let it slip.
Joe is bidding on Andrew Putnam. Everyone go get Andrew Putnam. And I have just lost Austin Eckroat. So things are heating up here. Let me refresh the board and see if I can I was just waiting, Joe, until one of yours came through so I could spoil it for you. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, Scotty Scheffler. Oh, look at this. Look at this. Patrick Cantlay, now the second most expensive golfer. He's at $11. This is the most expensive we have seen on Patrick Cantlay since the AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am 2 years ago. He finished T4 that week and returned you a profit. He was $12.21. We're at $11. He's past Jon Rahm, and Scotty Scheffler is trying to break into the $12 mark himself. Then there's a gap to Xander, and then another gap to everybody else in the $8 range, which is just Victor and Rory, and then everybody else in the 7. So we have our tiers certainly forming. Sam Burns is over his fair value by 21 cents. A little bit further down the board, Harris English still has 30 cents to go on his fair value. So he's got a little bit of wiggle room. We haven't talked about Ryan Fox, but he's gotten over his fair value by about 50 cents. And Adam Svensson has, 50 or 60 cents to go until his fair value, which is only 470. He's at 406 right now. So things are a little bit all over the place. You can get some value if you can find the names that you like that are being overlooked at the moment. There it is. Scotty and Jon Rahm are trending. Scotty up to 1205. Rahm back in second place, 11-11, 6 cents better than Patrick Cantlay. Xander Schauffele boxing out Rory McIlroy. Xander at 956, Rory at 880 on Rory McIlroy. He was cheaper last week at the PGA Championship, but this is a pretty historically low price on Rory McIlroy at 880. We have less than a minute to go in this IPO. 8:59 p.m. Eastern time. We will see what stays and when this closes. Oh, and I think we're done.
Yep. Shut it down.
IPO is closed. Shut it down. IPO is closed. Wow. Okay. Oh. I see my holdings coming over.
Mine are in. I lost Rahm at the top.
Wow.
$11. He got over 11, huh?
Yeah. So let's do this. Joe, why don't you read us your portfolio?
You got it. Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
880.
Smart. Let's go. Rory's gonna win. Like Rory's probably just gonna win this thing.
Yeah, it would be so Rory, wouldn't it, to win this?
Remember last time he got to 20-1? I think it was CJ Cup, and he just won it. I know he's not 20-1 this week, but like when you let him slide, he just wins.
Yep.
All right. Rory at 880.
655 and 644 Spieth and that Fitzpatrick combo.
Spieth and Fitzy.
Yep. 563. I got Tom Kim. 488 per share. I got Chris Kirk. Then in the sort of lower $4 even, Adam Svensson, Andrew Putnam, which you called me out on, and then also in the $3 range, Akshay Bhatia and Mark Hubbard. 9 guys.
Well, I'm glad you were able to keep a little bit of action on after I outed you on that as I saw it roll by. That is Rory, Spieth, Fitzpatrick, Tom Kim, Chris Kirk, Adam Svensson, Andrew Putnam, Akshay, and Mark Hubbard. So basically, put your money where your mouth is. Dylan got Hatton, Decky, Harris English, and Mark Hubbard. JG Funk got Justin Thomas, Shane Lowry, Denny, Svensson, Straka. Then he rounds it out with Putnam, Kirk, Neesmith, Shelton, and Micheluzzi, David Micheluzzi. And I got, how about this? So I got outbid on some shares of Svensson, but I was able to retain 2 of them. So I got most of them taken away, but I got 2 left. I got
Eckroat, you mean?
Excuse me, Eckroat. Yeah. I got my Suss shares. I got my Denny McCarthy shares.
Okay, you listen. I did you a solid. Don't ever say I didn't do anything for you by letting those Denny ones slide.
Yeah, much appreciated. That it's a lot less stressful when you just put the bid in like 3 hours in advance and don't have to watch like everything come running in.
Absolutely, yeah. It's honestly a good price on Denny. What is it? 30th or better, 28th or better.
I just clicked off of it. 28th, I believe.
Yeah,
or better. Yeah, that sounds about right. All right, so let's look through this here. So let me make sure I have everything updated. Yeah, I do. Okay. So Scotty at 12:15. Probably no surprise, right? That is asking him to finish basically 8th or better. I mean, listen, what more do you want from this guy?
Nothing.
Rom at 11:11. Which I thought Cantlay was going to nip him. He didn't, but close enough, man. I mean, 6 cents. That's the difference here. Both are highly regarded this week, and people were willing to pay up.
Yes. I saw it for a momentarily there when Cantlay had passed him up, and there was some ROM availability, just under $11. So I had the $11 bid in, quickly passed him up, but I think this is the order that we always saw this coming in.
In a tier of his own, Xander Schauffele, 956. So that is $1.50 from the guys at the top and 75 cents better than everybody else, Rory McIlroy, Victor Hovland. So Xander carves out a place of his own. It is interesting, right? He's always highly regarded. Does he win enough? I don't know. You can talk about that, but he's a mint when it comes to the jock market. He's a very good, profitable player.
He is, but I don't agree. Like at some point, 75 cent discount going from Xander to Rory doesn't line up for me. I'd much rather have Rory at the discount there. It's too far. You're right. Xander has been much more consistent, but it does feel like Rory's going to bag one here pretty soon.
I am pretty confident. I mean, we'll see how it ends on Sunday, but like this Rory price is great.
Yeah.
Like I just 880. That's asking him to finish 16th or better. I don't know what his top 10 number is, but this is again, he's coming off a really good finish that people acted like was the ultimate failure.
I had him at the PGA Championship, and it was squeamish the entire time. I did not feel good about it whatsoever. Then there was like a moment after one hole on Sunday where I'm like, okay, Rory's going to win this. And then it just faded. But all in reality, he returned 52%, and he had like nothing that week. So I do think he has to draw some positives from that and hopefully turn it into a good showing this week.
Little bit surprised Ricky didn't go for more. 666 behind Cam Young, Corey Connors, even Sungjae Im. I thought that the record, the form, the general sentiment on Ricky was going to push him higher. I think if I would have been paying attention to this in real time, I mean, I definitely would have taken Ricky before I took Cam Young or Sungjae, I think at this point.
Yes, I agree with you there on Cam Young. I still think, catching a 11-cent discount there on Jordan Spieth over Ricky, I'd much rather have Spieth in this scenario. Probably Hideki as well. But yeah, Cameron Young is price is too high. I think Jason Day's price is too high. Corey Connors is actually one that I was kind of interested in, and we didn't really talk about him, as I do feel like this is a great course fit and he's in fantastic form. Confidence is at an all-time high. He's another guy I feel like has a very high floor and stability there, which you look for in a place like Jock Market.
Yeah, so you can see as I'm showing the dashboard here, the action is now live and it's ongoing. You're seeing, Matt Fitzpatrick getting traded at 704. There's a couple of asks and a couple of bids out there for golfers. So we've only really just begun. You can kind of see what your current, profit is, or at least, projected profit is on these guys in your portfolio right now. So this is just getting started. You mentioned it, Joe. There's like a pretty good chance, you wake up and your guys couple over par early. It's a hard golf course. It's not going to be 30 under par that wins it. There's going to be a lot of opportunities to get in and out of this market.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of opportunities, including the pick'em market, which is open now until the start of this thing, which I think there's a couple really attractive lines there. So check that out as well. Make sure that you enter the contest. Certainly retweet the Jock Market tweet up there, guessing on Patrick or John Rahm, and you're going to be entered into that drawing. I saw somebody was very happy to receive that $150 last week, because I'm sure someone will be this week.
Yeah.
Awesome show, dude. Excited for the Memorial. Excited to talk again next week for Canada, and then we make our way out to your sort of territory there in LA.
Yeah. If anybody wants to hand me $150, I'll always be very happy about that. Yeah. So that's good stuff. All right, as Joe mentioned, back next week, same time, same place. RBC Canadian Open, US Open, Travelers. We are bonkers right now, and the markets are heating up. Follow Joe on Twitter. Use the code POWER to get your deposit bonus. Joe is at TorPicks. I'm at RickRunGood. This has been your Jock Market Power Hour for this week's Memorial. Good luck.